By the time prosecutor Zora Mitchell slammed her evidence file on the federal bench, 3 senators had already made secret calls to bury the case, and one was ready to kill for it. The courtroom falls into dead silence as Zora Mitchell slams a thick evidence binder on the bench. Her tailored navy suit, braided bun, and intense gaze make her impossible to ignore. The federal judge eyes her, startled. Somewhere in the crowd, a senator watches nervously. Senator Charles DeWitt, from the Intelligence Committee, slips into the hallway and whispers into a burner phone. She has it. She knows about the offshore accounts. The voice on the other end replies coldly, then she can't leave that courtroom alive. Zora calls her star witness to the stand-a whistleblower accountant, who looks visibly terrified. "State your name," she says with calm authority. The accountant hesitates. "Brian Kemp." Zora's voice softens. "We'll protect you, but you need to tell the truth." Kemp begins revealing details of an illegal weapons contract laundered through fake veterans' charities, linking back to multiple lawmakers. The defense attorney interrupts with a loud objection. "Speculative hearsay?" but the judge allows it. The courtroom murmurs in shock. In the parking lot, a black SUV sits idle. A man with a silenced pistol loads his weapon and checks a dossier. Zora's photo is paperclipped on top. Orders: eliminate. Zora returns to her office late at night, reviewing files. A noise behind her makes her reach under the desk for her licensed Glock. "You shouldn't be here," she says without turning. Around, it's her ex, Marcus, now an FBI agent. Scene 7. "I had to warn you," Marcus says. "There's a leak in your office. Someone's feeding your case files to DeWitt's people. You're being set up." Zora's eyes narrow. "Then we need to smoke them out." In court the next morning, Zora requests emergency whistleblower protection. The judge delays the motion, citing unverified threats. Brian Kemp flees the courthouse. No one sees him again. Zora visits the Department of Justice and confronts her boss, Assistant Ag Lynette Rowe. Someone inside DOJ is trying to kill this case. Rowe, a stern black woman in her 60s, stares her down. "And yet you're still standing. Fight smarter, Zora." Brian Kemp's car is found torched under a freeway overpass. No body, just his watch melted into the seatbelt. Zora clenches her jaw. They've declared war. Flashback: a younger Zora Mitchell, then a public defender, watches her client get railroaded by a corrupt DA. It's the moment that transforms her. She decides to become a prosecutor, to fight the system from within. Back in the present, Zora holds a press conference. "We have evidence of systemic corruption involving federal contractors and elected officials." The media explodes. One reporter shouts, "Do you fear for your life?" Zora doesn't flinch. "I fear for justice." Senator DeWitt's chief of staff, a slick political fixer named Reagan Voss, plots a counterattack. "We need to discredit her. Leaks something, anything." An anonymous source sends the press a photo of Zora at a protest years ago. The headline reads, "Radical prosecutors' anti-government past exposed." Zora's reputation takes a hit. Marcus shows up with encrypted files. "I pulled this from the NSA archives. Someone inside DeWitt's office ordered surveillance." On you months before the trial began, Zora meets with journalist Tasha Reed, an old college friend and now editor at the Washington Post. "We can leak it strategically. Frame it as a countersmear." Zora nods. No spin, just the truth. In the shadows of a parking garage, Reagan Voss meets with a fixer. "She's too loud. We don't need a scandal. We need an accident." That night, Zora's car is rammed off the road. She crawls out of the wreck, bleeding but alive. Limps home in silence, her resolve burning hotter. Hospital. Zora lies in bed, bruised. Rowe visits. "Take a step back, Mitchell." Zora turns her head slowly. "I step back. They win." Scene opens with Zora testifying before a closed congressional hearing. "You want names? I'll give you account numbers, offshore banks, procurement trails, and then I'll prosecute them all." Marcus uncovers something bigger biometric entry logs show. DeWitt met with a blacklisted defense lobbyist connected to a known arms cartel. Zora whispers, "This isn't just corruption. This is treason." Tasha publishes an expose titled "The Swamp Has a Name," inside the DeWitt cartel. It trends number 1. Senate offices go into lockdown. Zora walks into court flanked by 2 US Marshals. Protesters cheer. This is bigger than Watergate, someone yells. A new witness appears, DeWitt's own ex-staffer, who brings a flash drive of recordings. Zora listens to one. If this goes to trial, I'll burn the damn DOJ to the ground. Zora meets her estranged father, a retired judge, for guidance. The law is a weapon, he says. But only if you're willing to cut deep. Senator DeWitt has issued a sealed indictment. His allies try to bury it. A rogue federal judge agrees to hear a motion to dismiss on technical grounds. Zora goes underground for a few days. Rumors fly that she's fled, and suddenly she walks into a live CNN interview. I'm not running. I'm preparing for war. Zora's assistant, young paralegal Jasmine, is kidnapped. A burner phone rings. Drop the case, or the girl dies. Marcus and Zora coordinate a sting. Jasmine is rescued from a warehouse. The kidnappers, ex-military, hired by a private firm linked to DeWitt's cousin. DOJ is forced to assign a special prosecutor, but Zora refuses to hand over the case. They'll bury it. I won't. Zora finally gets a subpoena for DeWitt. The Capitol is in uproar. Protesters flood the steps. Security is doubled. During the hearing, DeWitt smirks. You're a glorified local lawyer playing federal hardball. Zora leans forward, and you're a traitor with a god complex. Zora receives a package. Inside is a torn piece of her late mother's scarf. A threat. She calls her father. They've crossed a line. Flashback. Zora's mother died in a suspicious house fire when she was a child. Authorities ruled it an accident. Zora suspects it was connected to this same network. The case pivots. Zora petitions the court to expand charges to include conspiracy, obstruction, and racketeering. Ash! The judge hesitates, then signs. Zora's apartment is broken into. Nothing is stolen, just her law degree, ripped off the wall and shattered. Zora begins preparing for trial, building a war board of names, dates, flowcharts. I don't care who's connected. If your fingerprints are on this, I'm coming for you. An anonymous ally within the CIA drops a USB into her mailbox. Label Project Wolfskin. It outlines covert weapons transfers disguised as disaster aid. Marcus and Tasha review the files. Names of sitting senators, military contractors, and foreign agents appear. It's bigger than she feared. Zora is offered a bribe, $5 million offshore and a private villa in Belize. She replies, My mother didn't raise me for sale. Roe calls her into the DOJ. You've officially crossed into national security. You have 2 options: hand it over or go rogue. Zora answers, You already know my choice. Marcus receives a threat. Leave Zora or his sister dies. He stays. Zora whispers, We don't run. A secret grand jury is convened. Zora presents key evidence. Cameras are banned, but her voice echoes in the chamber like fire. One juror breaks into tears. This is our own government? Zora just nods. Now it's your job to hold it accountable. DeWitt tries to flee the country on a private jet. Homeland Security intercepts him. He's escorted off. In cuffs, the indictment becomes public. President makes a national statement. Justice must be blind Evan to power. Zora walks alone to the courthouse. Protesters cheer. She pauses, looks up at the building, and says softly, Let's finish this. Opening arguments begin. Zora's voice is calm, cold, and clear. This isn't just about one man. This is about the sickness behind the curtain. DeWitt's lawyers begin their attack, painting Zora as angry, biased, and obsessed. Zora smiles and says, Thank you for confirming I'm a threat. Trial adjourns for the day. Zora stands alone on the courthouse steps. Rain begins to fall, but she doesn't move. The battle has begun. The courtroom is packed with journalists, protesters, and political insiders. Zora Mitchell steps through the heavy oak doors, her presence electric. Today is cross-examination. She knows this will make or break the case. She places her briefcase on the table, opens it slowly, and pulls out the document that will turn everything. Let's begin, she says. On the stand is DeWitt's former logistics chief, Colby Nansa, a barrel-chested man who once boasted he could move missiles. Through a church, Zora begins gently, but soon corners him with his own emails. You instructed the delivery of classified weapons disguised as relief aid. Yes or no? Colby sweats. I was following protocol. Zora slams the printed email on the evidence table. Protocol. Code Wolfskin. In a shadowed room inside the Capitol, Reagan Voss meets with 4 other staffers. She's got Colby. Next will be Bledsoe. Then the floodgates open. One woman mutters, "We need to burn the list." Reagan raises an eyebrow. "We need to burn her." Back in court, Zora calls Eleanor Bledsoe, a former State Department handler. Bledsoe walks in, limping, older, but sharp. "You think I'm afraid of those men?" she says as she sits. "I've had assassins watch me eat soup." In Kabul, Zora smiles faintly. This woman's not weak. She's a fuse. Bledsoe's testimony is nuclear. She identifies the officials who cleared Project Wolfskin, including 2 cabinet members. Gasps erupt. The judge bangs his gavel. Zora doesn't flinch. She's building an empire of truths, and the bricks are falling into place. Senator DeWitt stares at Zora from across the courtroom. In his eyes, rage, calculation, and fear. He mouths something she can't hear. She narrows her eyes. Later, Marcus translates it from the security footage. She dies before verdict. Tasha Reid publishes a bombshell story linking Wolfskin to war crimes in Sudan. The White House goes on lockdown. The Pentagon denies involvement. Protesters surround the Capitol. Zora reviews the chaos from her office window. Could she? Whispers, "Let them see what they've protected." The Doge basement, Zora and Marcus decrypt more files. One line stands out in red font. Q17. Civilian media control procedure read, Mitchell's subject flagged. Marcus looks at her. They planned this. They were watching you for years. Zora flashes back to her first year in law school. Internship, where she exposed a city contract scam and received anonymous threats. Her memory sharpens. This started before the trial, before DeWitt. We've been targets for a long time. She meets with DOJ head row privately. I want emergency authority to invoke a national corruption tribunal. Row sighs. That's nuclear. Zora leans in. So's this case. It's time. Reagan Voss calls an underground fixer named Malik Dyer, ex-Special Forces. It looked clean. An overdose. A robbery gone wrong. Malik takes the envelope, nods, and vanishes. Marcus sets up a remote surveillance trap near Zora's apartment. Cameras catch Malik prowling the rooftop. Marcus intervenes before the hit can happen, and a brutal hand-to-hand fight breaks out. Malik escapes, bleeding. But the message is clear. She's not safe anymore. Zora testifies before the emergency tribunal. The panel includes military judges, 2 civilian oversight officials, and 1 U.S. senator. She gives a 20-minute opening statement that is so blistering to members. Visibly weep. This is not justice delayed. This is justice denied. No more. At 3 a.m., Jasmine Zora's paralegal is hacked. All trial files are wiped. Zora and Marcus work through the night to reconstruct them. Zora types silently for 6 hours straight, hands shaking. They can't erase what's in my head, she says. Zora is ambushed outside her office. Masked man lunges, but Jasmine, now trained in self-defense, uses her stun gun to disable him. You okay, she asks Zora. Zora smiles grimly. Next time, go for the throat. Marcus reveals a new leak. Audio of Reagan Voss bribing a judge. The DOJ launches a separate indictment. Zora demands that Reagan be put on the stand. Judge hesitates. He has national clearance. Zora, so do traitors. Reagan Voss testifies. He lies smoothly until Zora plays a clean audio clip. If the bitch doesn't fold, we break her spine. Gasps. Voss freezes. Zora locks eyes. Did you mean metaphorically or literally? Backroom negotiations begin. DeWitt's team offers a deal. Plead him to obstruction. Drop racketeering. Zora refuses. I'm not here to clean their mess. I'm here to bury it. Marcus is suspended from the FBI for interfering with a classified operation. Grins. Guess I'm freelance now. Zora kisses him for the first time in years. You were always better, rogue. Zora interrogates a Blackwater-style mercenary contractor who flipped for immunity. He admits to running hits across 3 continents. This isn't government anymore. It's corporate war, he says. You're a target with a badge. Scene 21. Protesters gather outside federal court, chanting Zora's name. News channels call it the trial of the century. Congress opens a second investigation. Foreign embassies call Washington, asking what the hell is happening over. There, Zora collapses from exhaustion in her apartment. Marcus picks her up and says, "You've carried the country long enough today." She lets him hold her. "Just don't let them win while I rest." A drone follows Zora's car to a meeting. Marcus shoots it out of the sky. They find a GPS transmitter in her trunk. They've moved from defense to full assault, he says. Good, Zora says. Let's make them bleed. Zora meets with 2 retired CIA analysts who once supported Project Wolfskin but turned whistleblower. They give her video files, declassified horrors. Zora watches one and cries. This is genocide. She presents the videos to the court. The judge clears the room of media. This is classified. Zora, not anymore. People deserve to know who their leaders are. A rogue juror attempts to contact DeWitt's team. Jasmine catches the breach and notifies the judge. The juror is dismissed. They're trying to poison the well, Zora says. We'll boil it clean. Zora is awarded a temporary marshal team for her protection. One of them is ex-military, a woman named Nyla Jones, who becomes her bodyguard. I don't protect politicians, Nyla says. Zora replies, Good. I'm not one. Marcus uncovers a personal betrayal. One of Zora's former law school friends is feeding info to Reagan. Zora confronts her in a cold rain. You sold me out for a job. You sold justice for comfort. DeWitt's team calls their final witness. A retired general who claims all actions were in national interest. Zora eviscerates him. National interest is not a shield for blood. It is a duty to protect the people. Zora receives a letter from an 11-year-old girl. When I grow up, I want to be brave like you. She tapes it to her case binder. For every girl they tried to silence, she says, let this case be their voice. Motion to delay the trial due to mental instability of a key witness is filed. Zora counters with certified evaluations. The judge laughs. You're not just prepared, Ms. Mitchell. You're surgical. Zora holds a community town hall, answering hard questions about the system's complicity. This case won't fix it all, she admits. But it will show we're no longer afraid to fight. Reagan Voss attempts to flee. He's caught boarding a private yacht. Arrested. Live on television. Zora watches from a cafe. One snake down. Court resumes. Zora delivers a summation so precise the stenographer pauses. This isn't a case of bad actors. It's a culture of rot. If you let them walk, then we're all guilty. The jury begins deliberation. Zora walks the courthouse hallways alone, hands clasped. She whispers to herself the names of every witness, every whistleblower, every threat endured. A mysterious envelope appears on her desk. Inside is a key and a note. Vault 7. If they acquit him, release it. She puts it in her pocket, just in case. Overnight, her apartment is set on fire. She escapes with seconds to spare. Her legal files already backed up. Too late, she says to the smoke. The truth is out. She returns to court covered in ash and soot, head held high. Reporters ask what happened. They tried to silence the truth, and I'm still here. In chambers, the judge looks at her. Do you realize what you've done? Zora replies, only the beginning, Your Honor. The jury returns. The room is so silent, the clock ticking on the wall feels like thunder. Zora breathes once, then twice, and rises. Scene 41. The courtroom rises as the jury foreperson stands. Her hands tremble, holding the verdict sheet. She looks at the judge, then at Zora, then at DeWitt. Her voice shakes slightly, but grows steadier. Can't one. Racketeering. We find the defendant guilty. Gasps ripple through the room. DeWitt clenches his jaw. Zora stares straight ahead, her breath held. Count 2. Conspiracy to commit fraud against the United States guilty. Count 3. Obstruction of justice guilty. Count 4. Abuse of classified clearance guilty. Chaos erupts. DeWitt's wife screams. His lawyer drops his pen. Reporters shout questions. Protesters outside scream, cry, cheer. Zora closes her eyes for a moment, blocking it all out. She's not celebrating. Not yet. Justice was served, but not all justice. Not yet. DeWitt is remanded without bail. He's dragged out of the courtroom in cuffs. On his way out, he turns to Zora and says, "You think this is over? You've only cut the head. The body's still alive." Zora's response is cold and quiet. "Then I'll burn the whole beast." Zora walks out of the courthouse into a sea of flashing cameras. Reporters flood her. She raises one hand not to silence them, but to point to the people gathered behind the barricades. "This wasn't about me," she says into the microphones. "It was about all of them." Back at DOJ headquarters, Assistant AG Rowe greets her with a rare smile. "You just brought down a sitting U.S. senator and 2 covert programs in one trial. Do you understand what that means?" "Zora, it means I've made enemies with people who don't forgive." "Rowe, and that's why I need you to take the next case. There's another senator worse than DeWitt." Zora returns to the charred remains of her apartment. Jasmine meets her there, holding coffee and backup hard drives. Zora kneels in the ashes, finds the melted letter from the 11-year-old girl. "We keep going," she says, "for her." Marcus takes Zora on a quiet drive out of the city. They park under the stars. He opens the trunk. New identity files, clean phones, travel plans. "Just say the word, Zoe. We disappear. We've done enough." Zora looks out at the dark horizon. "You think they'd stop if I walked away?" He shakes his head. "They'd get louder." "Zora, then I'm staying." News spreads across the globe. Foreign leaders issue statements. Congressional hearings are scheduled. The president issues an executive order to dissolve Project Wolfskin entirely. Zora is offered a medal. She refuses. "I don't want metal on my chest. I want truth in our system." At her mother's grave, Zora kneels in silence. She places the old scar found burned, torn on the headstone. "I didn't get to say goodbye, Mom, but I did what you'd have done. I made them answer." She stands up, and in her hand is a manila folder, her next case. Zora returns to the courtroom alone this time. Empty benches. It's just her in the silence. She walks to the podium, touches the wood gently, and closes her eyes. Flashbulbs of every scene before fill her mind. The threats, the victory, the ashes. Then her eyes open. She straightens her blazer and whispers to the empty chamber, "I'm just getting started." At 5:43 a.m., Zora receives a coded message on her secure Doge line. Mirage protocol initiated. It's a clearance-level alert used only when an operation is compromised. She knows what it means. Someone high up just burned evidence, and possibly a life. Zora meets with Rowe in a locked conference room. On the screen, a drone feed shows a warehouse explosion over CCIA Black Site. It housed 2 witnesses for the Wolfskin expansion, Rowe says. "They're dead. So is their handler." Zora's voice is cold. "It's a cleanup. It's just starting." Tasha Reed drops a new story. Leaked cables linked Wolfskin to secret Arctic bioweapons project. Zora stares at the printed page. They're hiding more than missiles. They're hiding monsters. Zora confronts retired intelligence officer Victor Allen, who once helped fund Project Mirage. He laughs in her face. "You're chasing ghosts." "In a hurricane. These people don't fear trials. They own the courts." Jasmine decrypts a flash drive labeled Archive left behind by a murdered NSA analyst. It holds detailed data about secret government labs, hidden prisons, and international blackmail campaigns targeting foreign officials. Zora can barely process it. It's not corruption anymore. It's an empire, Marcus warns her. "You're stepping beyond domestic jurisdiction. You'll need someone from the inside." Zora reluctantly agrees to meet with CIA liaison Angela Ross, A woman with steel gray eyes and zero loyalty to any flag, only to balance. Angela agrees to help Zora on one condition. If you fall, I don't catch you. Zora, good, because I won't fall. DeWitt's conviction sparks chaos in the Senate. Hearings turn into political war zones when Senator Harlan Vance begins. Publicly calling Zora a legal terrorist, Zora smiles at the headline. We've got our next target. Harlan Vance's voting record shows curious abstentions every time a black budget proposal was debated. Jasmine finds overseas accounts linked to his former campaign manager. He's been bought over and over again. Zora prepares a RICO investigation on Vance. Roe warns her he's protected by international diplomats and 6 private firms. This won't be a try-little B trench warfare. Zora goes to New York to meet Sebastian Kane, a reclusive billionaire suspected of bankrolling black ops through charities. He offers her $10 million to disappear. She responds by recording the entire offer and emailing it to Tasha Liv. In retaliation, Kane's team leaks deepfake videos of Zora admitting to falsifying evidence. The clips trend online. She's called a fraud. Roe asks if she'll step down. Zora, I'll step up. Zora calls a press conference. If the justice system fears lies, then the liars already won. But I'm still here. The room erupts in applause. The video goes viral under hashtag #StillHere. Jasmine is nearly run off the road. Her brakes were cut. Zora holds her shaking hands at the hospital. Your family, you're not going anywhere. Angela Ross delivers a cryptic folder titled Vance Protocol. Inside photographs, wire transfers, surveillance logs. Zora gasps. He's been selling war intelligence to a foreign power. Vance's aide disappears. His driver is found dead. 2 of his former staffers are missing. The cover-up is accelerating. Zora initiates emergency grand jury proceedings. One juror drops out after receiving a threatening package. A photo of their child's school. ID. Tasha is approached by a whistleblower named Orion. He wears a full disguise and says only one thing. The Vance network is deeper than you think. You're not investigating a man. You're unearthing Hydra. Zora is sent a black envelope with a simple message. You're next. She opens it and finds a surveillance photo of herself asleep, in bed taken the night before. Marcus proposes relocating her temporarily. She refuses. This is my ground. If they want me, they come to my courtroom. Zora begins issuing subpoenas to Kane's financial shell companies. One by one, CEOs panic. A private plane explodes. In midair, pilot error, they say. Zora doesn't believe in coincidence. At DOJ, a mole is uncovered. It's a senior analyst who had worked under Roe. He vanishes before arrest. Roe is shaken for the first time. They're everywhere. Angela Ross introduces Zora to a secret intelligence collective retired agents and analysts. One speaks in French. Another never removes his sunglasses. They've been watching the Hydra network for decades, Angela says. You're the only one who brought it to trial. Zora prepares a classified presentation for a closed-door Senate Intelligence Committee. Inside the vault room, she lists names 7 sitting senators for foreign agents. 5 CEOs. Silence. Then this room will deny this ever happened. She leaves the meeting and walks into daylight press waiting. She doesn't speak, just walks straight to court. Zora begins the formal process to indict Senator Harlan Vance. His lawyers laugh at her. He'll be dead before the gavel drops. She replies, then I'll indict his ghost. Angela warns her, indicting Vance is the fuse. It expects war. Economic, political, psychological. Zora, let it burn. A bomb is found under Zora's car. Jasmine discovers it before ignition. It's military grade. The FBI opens an internal investigation. Marcus joins unofficially. This isn't sabotage, it's insurgency. Zora's photo is placed on the wall of a CIA black room right, under the word Acetion stable. Angela tears it down. A young lawyer named Devin, who idolized Zora, is murdered in a supposed robbery. She gives his eulogy in a rainstorm. Her voice cracks only once. For those who die chasing the truth, Let our voices echo loud enough to carry their names. Zora's apartment is finally abandoned. She now lives inside DOJ headquarters under 24-hour protection. She doesn't sleep, only works. Her eyes are sunken, but her fire blazes brighter than ever. Senator Vance publicly announces he's running. For president, the nation gasps. Zora watches the press conference from a secure room. Then I'll make him the first indicted candidate in U.S. history. Zora begins digging into his campaign funding. Finds links to cryptocurrency wallets used in Middle Eastern arms deals. Jasmine says, "We have enough to fry him, Zora. Not yet. I want to burn his empire from foundation to roof." Marcus is offered reinstatement in one condition: leave Zora behind. He refuses. The next day, his apartment is bugged. Turns them in himself. "Let them know I'm watching back." Tasha receives a sealed envelope inside her pictures of her family, taken at close range. She hesitates, then calls Zora. "They tried to scare me. It worked. But I'm still publishing." Angela provides proof of an offshore prison where political dissidents have been kept without trial. The prison is funded by Vance-linked security firms. The photographs are horrifying. Zora calls a new press conference. This time, she's not alone. Whistleblowers stand beside her. "These are the voices the system tried to erase," she says, "but they're standing today, and they will testify." DOJ authorizes Zora to launch Operation Tribunal, the largest domestic investigation of political corruption since Watergate. Media floods every screen. Vance calls it an illegal witch hunt. Zora addresses the country live. This is not about politics. This is about power abused, lives stolen, and truth buried. No one is above the law. Angela Ross vanishes. A single message is left on her encrypted channel. He knows. "I'm going dark." Zora sits alone in a soundproof DOJ interview room, reviewing Angela Ross's last known communication. Her mind runs through the chain of events. She went dark because of me, but the truth hits harder. She went dark because of what I found. Jasmine enters quietly, sliding a folder across the table. "We found Angela's safe house." Zora flips it open. Photos, burned files, surveillance equipment, and blood. Senator Vance launches a smear campaign against Zora, claiming she has foreign influence and accusing her of turning the DOJ into a weapon of revenge. Fox News runs headlines, "Zora Mitchell, rogue prosecutor, or political assassin?" Rowe offers to make a public statement backing her. Zora refuses. "They want me to run. I'll stay louder." Zora appears on 60 Minutes, facing aggressive questioning. When asked if she's scared, she responds, "Of the truth. Never. Of them. Not anymore. Of losing. I already lost too much." Her calm defiance goes viral. Overnight, she becomes the symbol of a new justice movement. Marcus intercepts a planned assassination attempt targeting Jasmine. He breaks protocol, physically subdues two assailants, and takes a bullet in the arm. At the hospital, Zora sits. Beside him, "You're not just my shield," she whispers. "You're the reason I haven't broken." Angela Ross's location is narrowed to a CIA bunker in the Canary Islands. Zora pulls every string, calling Rowe, NSA, and even foreign allies. She risked everything. We owe her a rescue. Rowe relents. An official task force is mobilized. Zora is granted emergency clearance to debrief with the president. In a dimly lit situation room, she outlines the Hydra network. 12 nations. $28 billion in shadow money. 7 assassinated whistleblowers. The president listens, jaw tight. "This will collapse the economy, Zora. If truth collapses your house, maybe you built it wrong." In a shocking press briefing, Harlan Vance accuses the DOJ of traitorous overreach and declares he's launching a lawsuit against Zora personally. His words let her face the same trial she forces on others. Zora responds with one sentence, "I'll see him in court." Then she files a countersuit. Angela is rescued barely alive. She's flown back to the U.S. under deep sedation. Zora visits her in the secure medical wing. Angela regains consciousness briefly. Her final words before slipping back into a coma. Vault 9. Under the lake. Zora steps back, shaken. She doesn't know what's in Vault 9, but she knows. It was meant to stay buried. Zora and Jasmine drive to a remote military site beneath Lake Mead. Marcus joins via secure drone surveillance. They locate Vault 9, a submerged Cold War facility not on any map. Inside, files, weapons, experimental documents, and a video. It's DeWitt, Vance, Kane, and 5 others discussing a plan. Black. If any piece of the network is exposed, we trigger full destabilization. One leak, and we kill the system from within. Zora stares at the screen in horror. They planned for this. Jasmine, they planned for you. Zora returns to DC and enters the courtroom again. This time, she's filing charges not just against a man, but against the entire Hydra network. Her voice rings out. This isn't about treason anymore. It's about a silent coup. It's about crimes so vast, they hid in plain sight. And I'm here to pull back the veil. As the courtroom erupts, sirens wail in the distance. A full national emergency is declared. The screen fades to black. The nation is divided. Cities erupt in protests and counter-protests. Cable networks loop Vance's indictment on every channel. Zora prepares for the most dangerous case in American history. She pins a photograph of her mother, Tasha, and Devin to the inside of her case binder. I will not flinch. Security around Zora tightens. Nyla, her ex-military bodyguard, receives intel about possible snipers in DC. Anyone touches her. We level the street, she tells the team. Zora overhears and calmly replies, they'll try bullets when truth isn't enough. Zora opens the first hearing of United States v. Senator Harlan Vance. Vance enters in a designer suit, flanked by 6 attorneys. He smirks at the cameras. His supporters outside chant, "This is a witch hunt." Zora's opening argument is thunderous. This case is not about disagreement. It is about betrayal. Not about politics, but about criminality disguised as patriotism. The gallery is silent. Even Vance leans forward, jaw clenched. Jasmine leaks an internal memo revealing Vance's team is coordinating with foreign bots to influence jury perception. Online, Zora asks the judge to sequester the jury. He agrees. Zora calls Samuel Greer, a former IT specialist for Vance. He testifies that his job was to scrub communication logs before Senate hearings. I was told to delete files marked Flag Day. That's what they called treason. A key exhibit. A signed letter from Vance to Kane. It's promising favorable legislation for a $100 million crypto donation. The defense objects. The judge overrules. The gallery murmurs this is big. Vance's lawyers pivot, claiming national security. Justifications. Zora fires back. National security is not a license to launder money or sell secrets. Angela Ross resurfaces, wounded but alive. She contacts Zora via burner phone. They tried to kill me in Athens. I have what you need. But I want immunity. Zora convinces DOJ brass to grant Angela limited immunity. She's flown in under a fake name. When she enters court, all cameras turn. Vance's face goes pale. Angela testifies. I saw the plan. I helped build it. But I will not die with their sins in my hands. A flash drive is leaked to the press. Video of Vance at a private fundraiser. I'll rewrite the Constitution by the time they figure it out. Footage airs live. Zora walks into court. The next morning, with the transcript in hand, jurors begin receiving anonymous threats. DOJ increases their protection. Zora visits the jurors in secrecy, unarmed. I will protect you. Not with guns. With truth. They all nod. One whispers, you already are. Zora questions a political analyst who reveals Vance's shadow cabinet, a list of loyalists, ready to replace every department head. He wanted not just power, the analyst says. He wanted to reset the republic. Zora calls a surprise witness. Devin's sister, a forensic accountant. She presents Vance's secret ledger, dozens of pages of cash, kickbacks, and bribes. Zora's voice cracks. He killed your brother. You still came? I came, she says, because Devin would have. Vance explodes in court, yells, calls Zora a witch, says the trial is a black coup. The judge threatens to hold him in contempt. Zora simply says, thank you, Senator. You just showed us who you really are. Tensions erupt outside. Vance supporters storm a federal building. DOJ officials are wounded. Zora addresses the media. This is not patriotism. This is terrorism dressed in campaign slogans. O'Gara sleeps in her office, dreams of her mother, teaching her to stand tall in church choir. She wakes to sirens. Another attempted breach of the courthouse. She suits up without a word. Angela gives Zora a new list operation, Cleaver Vance's final backup plan to blackmail every judge, lawmaker, and journalist on his path. Zora shakes her head. He was never a senator. He was a virus. Jasmine is kidnapped. For 11 hours, no one can find her. Zora calls every ally, every Bakshanal, every contact. Marcus finally locates her in an abandoned safe house. She's alive, but barely. Zora sits by Jasmine's hospital bed. I'm ending this. I don't care what it takes. Jasmine croaks. Then finish it. Or they'll come for the next girl. On day 24 of the trial, Zora calls her last witness. Herself. She recounts the entire case from DeWitt to Vance. She lays out every threat, every lie, every truth uncovered. For 2 hours, she speaks with tears and fury. The jury doesn't blink once. In closing arguments, Vance's lawyer calls Zora a power-hungry activist in heels. Zora rises slowly. I wear these heels so I can walk over everything men like you try to bury. And I'm not just an activist time you're reckoning. Jury begins deliberation. The city holds its breath. Protesters camp outside the courthouse. Cable news runs 24/7's coverage. Foreign leaders release statements. America is watching itself. Zora goes to the church where her mother is buried. She kneels. I'm not afraid, Mama, but I'm tired. If I win, let me rest. Angela disappears. Again this time for good, Zora finds a note in her office drawer. I've done what I could. You do the rest. Scene 26. A fire alarm forces a court evacuation. It was a false alarm but a warning. They want to scare us before the verdict, Marcus says. Zora, let them try. Marcus asks her to marry him. In a whisper, on the steps of the courthouse. Zora smiles. When it's over, Marcus. So never. Zora, maybe always. The jury returns. Zora stands. Time slows. The verdict. Count 1. Guilty. Count 2. Guilty. Count 3. Guilty. Count 4. Guilty. Count 5. Treason. Guilty. The room explodes with emotion. Reporters weep. Tasha clutches Jasmine's hand. Zora doesn't cry. She just breathes deeply. It's over. Zora gives one final statement outside court. We didn't just try a man. We tried power. We said not in our name. Applause drowns her out. Vance is taken to federal prison in chains. He smirks. You stop me, he says, but there'll be another. Zora leans in. Then I'll be ready. Zora is offered the position of U.S. Attorney General. She declines. I'm not done fighting cases. I'm not ready for a desk. Jasmine returns to work. Tasha publishes her memoir. Marcus opens a private firm. Zora, still in her old office, opens a new file. Case No. 834. Election integrity fraud. State versus Reed. She smiles. Back to work. Zora is invited to speak at Harvard Law. She hesitates until she sees the topic. Rewriting the future of justice. She accepts. Her keynote goes viral. We cannot fix the past, but we can make it irrelevant by forging something better. The truth isn't a luxurious survival. In a dark Capitol hallway, 2 senators whisper. Vance is gone. Doesn't matter. Hydra has many heads. Second man lights a cigar. We wait, and we find her weakness. From the shadows, Jasmine listens and records. Zora visits Angela Ross's safe house. It's abandoned, but the walls are covered in maps, strings. Photos Hydra's true scale. Pinned dead center is a photograph of Zora. In red ink, she changed the narrative. Protesters turn to planners. Grassroots organizations inspired by Zora's stand start sweeping elections. Mayors, judges, even prosecutors. Zora's inbox fills with letters. One reads, I went to law school because of you. She smiles. Legacy isn't written. It's planted. A disgraced general attempts suicide after evidence links him to Hydra ops. Zora reads the report with no joy. Marcus asks, "Does this ever feel like winning?" She replies, "Only when it changes something." Zora and Marcus finally take a weekend away. A small cabin by a lake. No phones, no email, just silence, and the man who stood beside her through fire. He whispers, "Still want to marry me?" She kisses him. Tomorrow. The wedding is simple. Jasmine signs as witness. Tasha cries through the vows. Zora, in a simple white dress, says just 5 words, "I promise to never fold again." On their honeymoon, a courier delivers a folder marked Reaper Doctrine. It outlines plans to privatize American intelligence and sell surveillance access to foreign buyers. Marcus groans. "Can't we have 1 week?" Zora sighs. Hydra never sleeps. Back in D.C., Zora reassembles her team. Jasmine, Marcus, Tasha, and a new analista Miguel Alvarez, a former cartel accountant turned informant. "We're not just investigating crime," Zora says. "We're prosecuting corruption at the source." Zora appears before Congress to testify on judicial reform. "I don't want power. I want limits on it, especially my own." Her words spark the introduction of the Mitchell Integrity Act, the most aggressive anti-corruption bill in 30 years. An encrypted message arrives on Zora's private server. "I survived. I'm watching from afar. The war isn't over. AR." Zora smiles softly. Angela is alive. She receives an honorary medal from the president, but she hands it off to Tasha afterward. "This was your courage too, Devin's and Jasmine's. Mine was just loudest." A new civil trial is filed in another state. Same tactics, same patterns, a different name. Zora leans back in her chair. Hydra moves fast, but so do I. She walks into a new courtroom. Different state, different judge, different enemy. But she brings the same weapon. Her voice, her truth, her relentless fire. The bailiff announces, "All rise." "Zora, let's begin again." At home that night, she opens a letter from the 11-year-old girl who once wrote to her. Now 13, the girl has won a mock trial contest. Zora hangs the photo on her fridge. "That's the future I'm fighting for." In the DOJ's memorial wing, a plaque is unveiled for Devin, for whistleblowers, for truth-tellers lost in the war against corruption. Zora speaks just one sentence. "They died believing truth mattered. We lived to prove they were right." Zora walks the Capitol steps alone. A reporter stops her. "Is Mitchell after everything? Aren't you tired?" She smiles, slow and, "Sure, yes. But justice doesn't get tired, and neither do I." Zora sits in a darkened Senate hearing room, testifying before the Judiciary Oversight Committee. A senator leans forward. "Ms. Mitchell, are you suggesting that the Department of Justice itself is compromised?" Zora doesn't blink. "I'm not suggesting it. I'm proving it." A leaked document reveals that multiple DOJ officials, including her former supervisor, once met privately with Vance. Zora spreads the pages across her office table, whispering, "I burned one head. They were grooming 5 more." Tasha investigates a dead journalist in Chicago. She uncovers a story that was buried. Project Parallax, a surveillance program designed to track civil rights leaders, prosecutors, and whistleblowers. Name is on the list. So is Jasmine's. So is Devin's. Miguel decrypts part of Parallax and discovers that the system is still active, operating under a false DHS division. Zora storms into DHS headquarters with a federal court order. Demands access. An agent tells her, "This door doesn't open unless you're part of the machine." Zora, "Then I'm here to break the hinges." Angela Ross resurfaces through a burner phone. She sends Zora 5 names, all DOJ insiders. "Start here," the message says. "Then follow the funding." One of the names is Rowe. Zora confronts Assistant Attorney General Rowe, privately. "You worked with me, then worked behind me." Rowe says nothing, just stares. Zora leaves his office with one promise. "When I indict you, I'll make sure your trial is public. High-tech whistleblower named Soren offers to testify. He claims Project Parallax is the front for a larger digital system, Helix Amass, AI surveillance and manipulation grid funded by private contractors. Zora whispers, "We're not in the courtroom anymore. We're in the mainframe." Soren vanishes 2 days later. His apartment is torched. But Jasmine recovers a small silver device from his encrypted mailbox. Inside, one named Blackridge, a cybersecurity firm. Untouchable. Globally funded. Tied to elections, prisons, media, finance. Zora meets with a mysterious corporate executive from a rival firm who despises Blackridge. She asks what they do, says whatever they want. They can crash an economy with a line of code. They're the real Hydra. Zora presents her findings in federal court. The judge tells her the case is too large, too complex, and too sensitive to national security. She responds, then, "National security has become national servitude." A secret tribunal is convened. Zora is denied entry. She sends a courier with a sealed affidavit. Every name, every crime, every cover-up. A week later, 2 judges on the tribunal resign. Quietly, no reason given. Zora knows why. Miguel is abducted. For 48 hours, there's no trace. Then he walks into the DOJ, unharmed. He looks changed, shaken. "They didn't threaten me," he says. "They showed me how the system works and told me to choose. Be useful or be deleted." Zora prepares a grand jury case against Blackridge. She needs classified clearance. She applies. It's denied. Official reason, insufficient need. Unofficial reason, you're too close. Tasha meets with a judge she once clerked for. He admits that the judiciary is being blackmailed. Not directly through families, finances, or secrets. "We were never immune," he says. "Just naive." Zora receives a private message. Just one word. Evidence. Attached is a deep surveillance clip Blackridge operatives discussing. A plan to sway to upcoming federal cases using generated documents and false social unrest. She breathes out, "Digital coups." Marcus begins assembling a countertask for Sethical, hackers, rogue analysts, one ex-military tech op. They call themselves Firewall Unit 0. Their goal: expose Helix. Zora meets with a former NSA director. He says nothing for the first 5 minutes. Then, they built Helix to predict unrest. But now it's used to create it. Truth, fear, revolution, it's all just sliders on a dashboard. Congress calls Zora for a secret briefing. She tells them this is no longer corruption. It's structural insurgency. One senator claps. Another says, "You just painted a target on your back." Zora finds a file marked Mitchell Compromise. Contains surveillance on her husband, Jasmine, even Tasha's health records. Zora slams the table. They've weaponized trust. Despite mounting threats, the Blackridge case is accepted for a preliminary hearing. Zora walks into court flanked by security. She's wearing all black. Tasha whispers, "You look like judgment." "Zora, I feel like war." The hearing begins. Blackridge's lawyers are 5 deep corporate giants. One tries to dismiss Zora's opening statement. The judge allows it. Zora leans over the mic and says, "Your Honor, if justice requires permission, then corruption has already won." Blackridge countersues. Zora is now the target of legal retaliation. She refuses to back down. "I don't lose sleep when guilty men attack me. I lose it when good people stay quiet." Firewall Unit 0 uncovers that Helix was used to manipulate jury pools through social data. 2 of Zora's past trials were tainted. Zora cries quietly in her car. "All that work? And they still pulled strings behind me." Angela sends a burner. Phone video from somewhere in South America. "I infiltrated a Helix node. It's worse than we thought. It's global now. Finish what I couldn't." Jasmine prepares a full public report, coded, timed, and loaded to go viral the moment. It drops. She looks at Zora. "You ready to go nuclear?" "Act." Zora, "I was born radioactive." The report explodes online. Hashtag Helix Truth trends in 17 countries. International media picks it up.
Blackridge.
Stock plummets. Zora receives death threats and a DOJ warning. You've stepped beyond jurisdiction. She replies, then I'll redraw the map. Anonymous hackers send Zora a gift helix source code. Tasha decrypts the language. Hidden inside is an eerie algorithm called Persephone Loop. It's a recursive AI designed to outlive any administration. Zora briefs the president directly. She doesn't hold back. This isn't cybercrime, it's cyber control. And we have to choose governance or manipulation. The president listens in silence. Then you just changed our foreign policy. DOJ announces a new commission to oversee AI regulation. But Zora knows the board is stacked with corporate lobbyists. She slams her hand on the table in a closed meeting. This isn't oversight, this is optics. Unapologetic and nominated as the interim director of national security, Zora watches the hearing live, tells the Senate. Zora Mitchell is a talented idealist, but she is not compatible with the complexity of power. Her response? I'm not here to be compatible. I'm here to be corrective. Tasha uncovers a campaign to rewrite Zora's legacy through fake articles and social bots. A new generation is being told she was the one destabilizing the nation. Jasmine says, they're laundering history. Zora, then we write it louder. Zora launches the Mitchell Accountability Index, a free digital platform where citizens can track political, funding, government contracts, and judicial affiliations. Within 48 hours, it has 9 million users. Threats against Zora reach a peak. Her home is vandalized, her tire slashed. She moves into a safe house and tells Marcus they can erase my address, but they can't erase my impact. Zora meets with civil rights leaders. They propose a coalition justice beyond elections, uniting grassroots reformers, lawyers, journalists, and ethicists. Zora agrees. The system is national. So is our answer. Roe tries to silence Zora through an internal ethics probe. She's accused of overstepping prosecutorial boundaries in her past Black Ridge investigation. She appears at the hearing and says, I stepped over a line, yes, because the line was drawn by criminals. Marcus is offered a government job to replace Roe on one condition: distance himself from Zora. He laughs. I'd rather mop floors next to her than sit on a throne away from her. Angela Ross is declared dead in an official CIA statement. Zora doesn't believe it. She visits Angela's last known safe house and finds a locked hard drive with one line of code etched on it. Truth has no flag. A rogue Supreme Court decision enables private corporations to suppress whistleblower information under new national business security laws. Zora releases a public statement. This is not justice. This is quiet tyranny. Firewall Unit Zero intercepts a plan called Project Eden, a digital campaign using deepfake videos to erode trust in judges. And even elections. Zora sends it straight to the UN. Global backlash erupts. Zora meets with young law students at Howard University. One student asks, how do you stay brave when everything gets worse? She replies, because worse is afraid of one thing, hope. That doesn't blink. Black Ridge's remnants reorganize into a non-profit ironically called Liberty Front. They begin lobbying Congress again under new names. Zora calls them out in a televised hearing. You changed the name, not the corruption. Zora's court case against Liberty Front gets thrown out by a judge with known ties to the group. Jasmine catches the connections and blasts them online. Zora sighs. We're not in a courtroom anymore. We're in a theater. Despite public fatigue and political hostility, Zora wins a Pulitzer for her work on the Helix Papers. She gives the shortest acceptance speech in history. I accept this not as reward, but as a reminder. We're not done. Tasha finds herself pregnant, she tells Zora during a late-night strategy session. Zora hugs her and whispers, then we fight not just for now, we fight for who's coming. An anonymous package arrives. Inside, a photograph of Devin, aged digitally, smiling beside Zora. The back reads, what if he had lived? Keep others alive. Keep going. Zora meets with the president. She's offered a Supreme Court seat. She refuses. I don't want to interpret the law from the top. I want to enforce it where the people live on the ground. Child runs up to her outside the courthouse and asks, are you the lady who fought the bad guys? Zora kneels. No, I'm the lady who wouldn't stop. So the bad guys finally did. Zora stands before a giant chalkboard at the headquarters of Justice Beyond Elections. She draws a line through the word reform and writes, rebuild. She turns to her team. Let's stop patching the roof. Let's build the house we were promised. Zora stood beneath the crumbling marble pillars of the old federal courthouse, not as a prosecutor, not as a warrior of law, but as a woman who had refused to bow to fear. Round her, the next generation gathered. Law clerks, survivors, activists, dreamers who no longer believed justice was something inherited, but something built. The sun cut through the clouds like a verdict. She raised her voice, not loud but clear. They tried to bury us in systems, in silence, in lies. But we weren't seeds, we were architects. And now we build something better. As the wind stirred the old flags above her, Zora Mitchell smiled because the fight wasn't over, and neither was she. The end.